All right, students, how are you doing? Okay, if you remember vividly, in our previous classes, we were able to discuss the noun clause and adjectival clause. We discussed that a noun clause functions as a noun in a sentence, and we can easily replace a noun clause with a pronoun. Remember that we said that you cannot remove a noun clause from a sentence for it to make sense. Wherever you give to me is enough. That is, wherever you give to me there is the noun clause. If you can actually change that wherever you give to me with a pronoun, it, to make it, it is enough. But for adjectival clause, you can easily remove them from sentences and those sentences will still make complete sense. That is what we discussed. And we always start adjectival clauses with relative pronouns. Which, who, whom. We also have the other ones like when, okay. And we said that they function as adjectives in sentences. That aside. Um, what we have today before us is adverbial clause. Please remember the difference between a clause and a phrase. The only thing that you should be having in mind when it comes to adverbial clause is, first of all, is it a clause? After knowing that this is a clause because it has a subject and predicate, and it is also a dependent clause, another thing that comes into your mind is, what is its function in this particular sentence? Anything at all that can answer the question, any part of a sentence that can answer the question, when? When was this particular thing done? Why? Why was this particular thing done? Where? Where was this particular thing done? How? How was this particular thing done? To what degree? How often? That is frequency. On what condition should this be done? Any question at all that can, any part of a sentence that can answer any of these questions, give it to adverbial. It can be an adverb, it can be an adverbial phrase, it can be an adverbial clause. The only thing that matters is it a phrase or a clause? If it is a clause, it must have a subject and at the same time, it must have a predicate. And every predicate, there must be a verb in it. I don't know if you're getting it. So simply put, what is an adverbial clause? An adverbial clause is a clause that functions as an adverb in a sentence. Very simple. An adverbial clause is a clause that functions as an adverb in a sentence. It answers the question why, how, when, where, to what extent, how often, on what condition, etc. I will repeat it. An adverbial clause is a clause that functions as an adverb in a sentence. It answers the question when, where, why, how often, to what extent, on what condition. So any part of a sentence that answers any of these questions, give it what? Adverbial clause. Now let me give us some examples. Look at this, for example. Wherever you go, I will follow. Wherever you go, I will follow. What do you think is the adverbial clause in this sentence? At the same time, if you check very well, that particular adverbial clause has a subject and predicate. And there is a subordinator that starts it. Wherever you go, I will follow. What do you think is the adverbial clause? Wherever you go. Wherever you go. Now, what is the question among the ones I mentioned that this particular wherever you go is answering in this sentence? Wherever you go. It's answering the question, where? Where will I follow? It's where you go so that I will follow. Wherever you go, I will follow. So you can underline wherever you go, I will follow as the adverbial clause here. Check this other one. He spoke as if he were an expert. He spoke as if he were an expert. What do you think is the adverbial clause here? He spoke as if he were an expert. The adverbial clause in this sentence is what? As if he were an expert. We can remove an adverbial clause from a sentence and the sentence will still make sense. The same way you can remove an adjectival clause from a sentence and the sentence will make sense. He spoke as if he were an expert. The adverbial clause here is what? As if he were an expert. Now, remove it. What will be remaining? He spoke. Correct. What question is as if he were an expert answering in this particular sentence? As if he were an expert. What question is he answering? Is it why? No. Why did he speak? No. That's not the answer. When did he speak? As if he were an expert? No. How did he speak? He spoke as if. So this one now, it answers the question how. That is why I said that any part of a sentence that answers the question when, that answers the question why, that answers the question how, that answers the question where, that answers the question to what extent, to what degree, to on what condition, it is what? An adverbial. What matters is tell us if it is an adverbial clause or an adverbial phrase. Very simple something. So let us quickly go into the different types of adverbial clauses and their functions, the functions they play in different parts of sentences. Let us work that out immediately. All right, this is credit to Quibot. All right, if you check very well now, the difference between adverbial clause and adverbial phrase. Okay, so they said adverbial phrases are similar to adverbial clauses, but adverbial phrases do not contain subject and a verb. That is what I always tell us whenever we learn. So if you check this one, adverbial phrase versus adverbial clause in examples. Let's go to the park after lunch. After lunch is underlined here. Does it have any subject and predicates? No, because it is what? A phrase. Look at the second one. Let's go to the park after we eat lunch. What is the subject in after we eat lunch? We. What is the predicate? Eat lunch. What is the verb in the predicate in the eat lunch? The predicate there is what? The verb in the predicate is what? Eat. So what is the subordinator? After. So for you to say this is an adverbial phrase, adverbial clause, check very well. Does it have a subject and predicate? And what is the subordinator that makes it what? A dependent clause. Look at the second one. Kelvin sings very badly. Kelvin sings as badly as I do. Between the first and second one, what do you think is a phrase? The phrase does not have a subject, does not have what? A predicate. So the phrase here is what? Very badly. Why this clause is what? As badly as I do. If actually it is the clause, what is the subject in this clause? As badly as I do. Who is doing it? I. So that is the subject. What is the verb in the, what is the predicate here? It's only do, which is the only verb that is here. So the subordinator is what? As badly as. That is the subordinator. As simple as ABC. So let's quickly go into the, what is it called again? The different types of adverbial clauses and their functions. Now look at this. Look at this. Number one, we're going to be discussing about 5 or 6 different types of adverbial clauses. Number one, we have adverbial clause of time. We can work on that now together. Number one is adverbial clause of time. Adverbial clause of time. This answers the question when. Adverbial clause of time. Put your colon. This answers the question when. This answers the question when. So any part of a sentence that you know very well that answer the question when a particular thing is done, give it what? Adverbial clause of time. So when you are asked in exam, what is the function? Describe when something happens. So we have an example there. Look at the example. After the rain stops, we will go to the park. Let me ask you, does this one answer the question how? How will we go to the park? No. Where we go to? No. Or no, it answers the question when we will go to the park. It's after the rain stops. For adverbial clause of time, let me give us some subordinators that can start the adverbial clause of time. We have subordinators like when, while, whenever, as soon as, until, since, before. I will repeat them. Some of the subordinators that can start adverbial clause of time are when, while, whenever, as soon as, until, since, before. All these ones can start the adverbial clause of time. So let me ask us now, look at this one, after the rain stops. What is the subject in this clause, in this adverbial clause? The rain. What is the predicate? Stops. What is the verb in the predicate? Stops. So it is even the verb that is in the predicate. It's only the verb that is in the predicate that makes up the whole word predicate. So what is the subordinator here? After. So you can draft out more examples for yourself. Number 2 is adverbial clause of place. Adverbial clause of place. This answers the question where. Where. So if, for example, now let's go back to the first one. Adverbial clause of time. What's the grammatical function of after the rain stops in this sentence? It describes when we will go for the park. To the park, I mean. That is just the answer. It describes when we go to the park. If at all I ask you, for example, now, I will meet you when the concert starts. What is the adverbial clause of time there? What is the adverbial clause? When the concert starts. So what is the function? It modifies the verb meet. Or you can say, it describes when we will meet you. That's all. The next one is adverbial clause of place. Answer the question when. It answers the question when. For its function, grammatical function, it describes where something happens. So for example, let's go where we went last weekend. Is it how we are going to go? No. Is it why we should go? No. It's where. It is where we should what? Go to. Let's go where we went last weekend. Where are we going to? Where we went last weekend. When will we go to the park? After the rain stops. You see it now. So that is for adverbial clause of place. The clause of place answers the question when. And some of the subordinators that can start an adverbial clause of place are where, wherever, everywhere, anywhere. Let me repeat them. Subordinators that can start adverbial clause of place are where, wherever, everywhere, anywhere. These are subordinators that can start what? Adverbial clause of place. As simple as ABC. So let's go back to the next one, which is adverbial clause of purpose. You can call it adverbial clause of reason. Adverbial clause of purpose. You can call it adverbial clause of reason. So it answers the question what? Remember the first one is answer the question when. The next one answer the question where. So adverbial clause of purpose, adverbial clause of reason answer the question why. Why? Why are we going to do this? Why should we do this? Why did you do this? So it answers the question why. Let's look at the example here. Harry gave Luke a pen because Luke lost his. Why did Harry give Luke a pen? Simple. Because Luke lost his. Like the example I always use in the classroom, I ate the food because I was hungry. Why did I eat the food? Because I was hungry. Very simple. So some subordinators. Let's talk about some subordinators that can start adverbial clause of purpose. Some subordinators that can start adverbial clause of purpose. So that, in order that, lest, L-E-S-T, lest, for fear that. These are some of the subordinators. Let me repeat them. So that, in order that, lest, for fear that. These are the ones that can start adverbial clause of time. Another one that we have is adverbial clause of manner. Yes. How you do some kind of things that you do. It states, describe how something happens. I ran as if my life depended on it. How did I run? I ran as if my life depended on it. But if I don't run like this now, I don't even know what is going to happen. I ran as if my life depended on it. So what are some of the subordinators that can start the adverbial clause of manner or adverbial clause of reason? Some of them are as, as if, as though, like. Let me repeat them. As if, as though, like, etc. So those are some of the subordinators that can start what? Adverbial clause of reason. That is just it. The next one is adverbial clause of condition. This one states what? Possible outcomes. On what condition should I do this? You know that some of us are asked to stand, say, why? Or you knew that, why should we? That one is adverbial clause of reason, please. That is not for condition. Condition is, if you don't do this particular thing will not happen. Or it is only when you do this that this particular one will happen. Just like when we were young, you will say, if you don't wash plates, you will not eat. So what is the condition? On what conditions should we eat? It is when we what? Wash plates. So look at this one now. If the coat goes on sale, I will buy it. On what condition will I buy the coat? If it goes on sale. Meaning that if it does not go on sale, I will not buy it. If it does not go on sale, I will not buy it. So that is very simple something. So for adverbial of condition, we have some subordinators that can start them. We have the subordinators as if, if, unless, provided that, supposing, in case. Let me repeat them. If, unless, provided that, supposing, in case. These are some of the subordinators that can start the adverbial clause of condition. Okay, we have only two left. We are almost rounding up. The next one is concession. Adverbial clause of concession. Adverbial clause of concession. It states a contrast. States a contrast. So, like contrasting two ideas. Even though most people hate it, Jasmine loves black what? Licorice. So you can see the contrast between what Jasmine loves and what other people hate. So even though these people love this particular thing, Jasmine, even other people hate it, Jasmine loves it. Although you are smart, your brother is very dull. You see different ways we can contrast, even like the poem we learn in literature, the cage bird and the free bird. You see different contrasts. While the cage bird is stuck in the cage, the free bird is what? Has the opportunity to go to any part of the world to do whatever it wants. You see that there is a contrast between these two words. Elements. So even though most people hate it, Jasmine loves black licorice. That is it. So some of the what is it called? Some of the subordinators that can start this particular concession are although, though, even though, while, whereas. Some of the subordinators that can start adverbial of concession are although, even though, while, whereas. The next one is comparison. Comparison is almost similar to concession there. Comparison is similar to concession there. So if you check very well, most of the subordinators are always the same. The teachers complain as much as the students do. So I believe we must have learned something from this. Remember that I told us that the difference between a phrase and a clause is that a phrase is a group of words without a finite verb, except a verb phrasal and a phrasal verb. Then I told us that if it is a clause, it must have a subject and predicate. The subject is the one that performs the action or the one that the other part of the sentence talks about. And every predicate must have a verb in it. Remember that. We have learned noun clauses, we've learned adjectival clauses, now we are learning adverbial clauses. We have different types of adverbial clauses. We have adverbial clause of time, which answers the question when. Remember, when the rain stops, we go to the park. When are we going to go to the park? Is when the rain stops. The next one is adverbial clause of place, where we say that it answers the question where exactly. Let's go where we went last weekend. Where are we going to? Where should we go to? Where we went last weekend, okay. Then the next one is adverbial clause of purpose, adverbial clause of reason. Adverbial clause of purpose, same thing as reason. Answer the question why. Harry gave Locke a pen because Locke lost his. So why did Harry give Locke a pen? It's because Locke lost his. Adverbial clause of manner can also be called adverbial clause of reason. Answer the question. Adverbial clause of manner is please is not adverbial clause of reason. Adverbial clause of manner answer the question how. How? It's purpose that is reason. Adverbial clause of manner answer the question how. I ran as if my life depended on it. How did I run? As if my life depended on it. Adverbial clause of condition. On what condition should this thing happen? If the coat goes on sale, I will buy it. So it means that I will only buy it if it goes on sale. If you don't wash the plates, you will not eat. I gave you all those ones. Concession is a contrast. I said even though most people hate it, Jasmine loves what? Black licorice. That is just it. That is just it. I believe you have learned something new and something wonderful today. Please, in case you have any question, you can always ask me. Um, I'm always available to respond to your questions. That is just a simple fact. I'm very available to answer questions. And I have classwork for you and an assignment. Write out 5 sentences that have adverbial clauses in them. You can, okay, for each of the adverbial clauses I've given to you, the types of adverbial clauses I've given to you, each of them, adverbial clause of time, adverbial clause of manner, adverbial clause of purpose, adverbial clause of concession, adverbial clause of condition, all of them that I've given to you, give me 1 sentence each. You can make use of any of the subordinators available to you. 1 sentence each. Your classwork and your assignments, they are the same questions. So I want to see one for your classwork, one for your assignments. For now, bye bye.